Hi, everyone. My name is Brendan O'Brien. I'm the Chief Innovation Officer of Aria Systems. I'd like to introduce you to Aria Systems in the context of us as a partner to ServiceNow, specifically the ServiceNow CRM solution. So Aria has been the strategic billing partner of ServiceNow, and we believe that it's a critical component to have billing to complete any CRM experience. A successful CRM needs to have billing. It's the primary touch point for most customers once they become a customer, and that's the function that we proudly serve as a strategic partner to ServiceNow. As a quick introduction to who we are, Aria is a horizontal biller. We were not designed to serve one specific industry. We were designed to serve high volume and high complexity across any industry. So we have plenty of customers across demanding industries like utilities and telecoms and media and technology. When we look at where Aria sits in the array of functions that determine call it a quote to cash or a lead to loyalty or an attract to renew model, we've highlighted where we sit. Obviously, there's the billing block there, but as you can see, there are elements of billing function that are critical to the blocks that come both before traditional billing as well as after. This is the role that we play when we are integrated with the ServiceNow CRM solution. So what is a question to everybody? What is the number one reason that you believe is the reason that customers reach out to customer service? And by the way, I mean this question in the context of literally any industry, any geography, since the dawn of the customer service desk. Answer, anyone? It's billing. Billing drives between 40 and 60% of all inbound calls to all call centers in all industries, in all geographies worldwide. There are people that believe that number, which by the way comes from a study done by McKinsey, to be a little bit too conservative, and that the actual number can often be higher. So the extension to that is, if billing drives inbound calls to call centers so much, it's pretty critical that anybody who's on the other end of that line has access to billing data and has access to billing functions, or you simply won't be able to keep up with what your customers are demanding. And so Aria built what we call Aria Billing Studio for ServiceNow. We believe, again, that it completes the entire CRM story by surfacing up the billing functionality that Aria offers. Aria Billing Studio for ServiceNow is an app that is available in the ServiceNow store. Of course, one must be an Aria customer as well as a ServiceNow customer in order to utilize it. But what does it do? It basically takes the API-forward, API-driven Aria billing solution and surfaces up that functionality through native UI tools provided by ServiceNow, with the simple goal being that an agent who has become comfortable with the ServiceNow user experience doesn't have to break from that experience, doesn't have to swivel the chair, as they say, and log into a different system in order to perform a billing function. It's seamlessly integrated into the ServiceNow environment that they know and love. So let's walk through what this thing does. ABS for ServiceNow. First of all, it begins in ServiceNow, right? You're using ServiceNow to capture order details, create a customer, and create a quote. And once that's done, ServiceNow orchestrates that order and sends the commercial components of that order, the decomposed commercial components, into Aria that can drive billing behavior, billing action. So now we're inside of Aria. Now, I want to point out we are inside of Aria because, again, the goal is to make sure that the experience is a completely ServiceNow look and feel branded experience. But there is a lot of important stuff that Aria is doing in the background. And it begins with creating a customer billing account. Can't do billing until we have a notion of that account inside the Aria platform. Then next, we do all the stuff related to billing. Now, that's kind of checking the box really broadly, but that involves a lot of things. We have to calculate a bunch of stuff, do taxes, apply discounts, render it through a templating engine to present an invoice, maybe even collect payment automatically if that's in scope, communicate with the order management system. The point being, Aria does all that stuff and generates the actual invoice itself and books the charge. All of that data, all of the line items, payments, discounts, taxes, et cetera, are all surfaced up and available immediately via that API that's the basis of the integration back up into ServiceNow. And so now in ServiceNow, I can see the invoice that I just created. I showed it to you in Aria. There it is, completely visible, like any other data that we have in the ServiceNow environment. Very importantly, now that that initial creation of the account and their initial bill is done, life goes on. Customer is now a real customer. And sooner or later, they're going to call a call center about something. And rest assured, all of the stuff that Aria does, all the data that we're in possession of, all the action that we are able to perform in a billing context is available up through ServiceNow as well. That includes macro data, right? Being able to visualize in a dashboard model, again, using ServiceNow native technology, the history of that account, its utilization, its payment history, whatever you need to show up, it's available. All of that critical detail is obviously preserved permanently inside Aria Billing Cloud. And then all of that functionality and data is surfaced back up again through ServiceNow. Billing, this is a very short list of billing functionality, but you can see we've put all that critical stuff that you need a billing system to be able to do as direct action that you can perform inside ServiceNow. So that's Aria Billing Studio for ServiceNow. Very, very quick tour. And that's all about exposing billing function and billing data in service of customer service. But what else are we up to? What else have we developed? Well, wouldn't be a complete story these days if it didn't have a very important AI component. So we have worked with ServiceNow to develop a couple of key ServiceNow AI agents that have a billing function associated with them. The first, and this is again developed by ServiceNow, but riding, at least in this case, partially on top of Aria, is their service test and repair agent. Simple use case, the service that you are supplying to me didn't work, hasn't worked for whatever reason. And now you have an AI agent hosted by ServiceNow that is going to explore the reasons behind that and maybe come up with some remedy. And we've highlighted one of the 8 members of the agent team that is actually talking to Aria, and that is, did you pay your bill? Is it that simple that your service got turned off because your bill wasn't paid? Well, it sounds trivial, but it's important to understand if that's the case. And if it wasn't paid, why wasn't it paid? So part of the service test and repair agent was critically built on top of the Aria platform. Additionally, another agent was built by ServiceNow called the bill issue remediation agent. Unlike the prior agent that had an agent team, only one of which was billing related, this thing is entirely billing related, right? So it's going after looking at your billing schedule going forward. Are there collection issues? Do we need to represent or recalculate an invoice? Checking on a payment, modify a form of payment, et cetera, et cetera. Provide recommendations for upgrades or downgrades or add-ons that complete a user's satisfaction. So the bill issue remediation agent and the prior service test and repair agent, both developed by ServiceNow, riding at least partially on Aria, or in this case, wholly on Aria, and both available in the Zurich release today. So that's kind of the present state. But what are the things that we're working on with ServiceNow and on our own right now that really kind of take this to the next level? And what we're working on is centered on 2 very important concepts. So I'm going to talk about each of those concepts and then give you an example of something that we're working on that satisfies that concept. The first concept is we believe firmly at Aria that billing data is absolutely the most critical, single, fundamental data set to understanding who your customer is. Look at these various constituent components of billing data and ask yourself, how can I possibly say I understand my customer if I don't have access to that? If I don't know how they use my service, if I don't understand their payment for my service, their upgrade and downgrade history, how long they've been a customer, how many times have we issued them goodwill credits because they've called and complained or been unhappy about service. All of that stuff is inside of the billing data box. So by exposing that box up into not just ServiceNow, but really any upstream system, we are providing the ability to fully understand your customer in a way that you otherwise would not. And so one thing that we have worked on, are working on right now with ServiceNow, that is in service of that principle, is what we call the Aria Customer Sentiment Agent. What we're basically saying is, let's use AI to crawl all of that data that exists inside that billing data set and answer a simple question. What does my customer feel about me and the service that I offer to them? Do they like me today, or do they not? Or are they somewhere in between? And use that information not only as something that we can present in a simple visual metaphor like we're showing here on the screen, again, up into ServiceNow and attached to a trouble ticket, but maybe to drive scripts that are then what the customer care agent uses to help encourage the customer to into an upsell, or to retain them by offering them some kind of an incentive or credit. Where you go from here is kind of up to you. It can kind of go anywhere. But this customer sentiment agent driven entirely off of billing data is a pretty attractive thing. We think that a lot of people are going to want. So that's one principle, and one thing that we're doing to serve that principle. The next principle is what I'm calling, what the world calls the world of ambient agents. So when we think about traditional AI agents, and I can't believe that we're saying traditional for something that's relatively new, but the traditional AI agent takes the form of, call it the chatbot, right? There's a human request. There's a human request to do something, answer a question, perform some function to an AI agent, and then the AI agent reacts to the request. Pretty straightforward. But the world of ambient agents is what we believe is the next wave, because that next wave promises real high-scale automation. So an ambient agent is, at the end of the day, no different from a human-triggered agent, except that the trigger is different. In an ambient agent acts autonomously, automatically. And that happens based on a change to a data condition, a system event that was provided to it, or an agent-to-agent style request. But the point is that an ambient agent does what it does without having to be told to do so first by a human in an explicit action. And that, in turn, implies greater scales of automation than you can get from traditional AI agents alone. So in service of that, Aria is working on a library of these agents, and the first of those is what we call our bill shock elimination agent. Now, that's a pretty bold statement, elimination. Remember before when I said that 40 to 60% of calls into all call centers across all industries are related to inquiries about billing? That's another shorthand way of saying bill shock, right? Why does my bill so high? What is that line item that's on there? Well, imagine if rather than a customer receiving that, feeling maybe depressed, their customer satisfaction a little depressed, angry, confused, and then reacting to get that thing resolved, what if you actually told them yourself there's a problem? We noticed a problem on your account, whether it's your utilization pattern or a payment didn't seem to go through the way it should have, whatever that it happens to be, but again, related to that billing data. And we detected the problem, we analyzed the problem, figured out what the root cause behind it was, and then proposed solutions, and did all of that proactively before the customer even knew that there was a problem to react to. We believe this is a game changer because this takes that number one depressor of customer satisfaction. I have a bill I don't understand that is maybe too high, and turns it into an element of satisfaction. My provider cares about me so much that they were able to tell me in advance that there was a problem before I even knew about it, and recommend remedies. And those remedies, by the way, can be upsell opportunities. Very often they are. If the reason for a given bill shock is there were a lot of calls, in this example, to Singapore that are out of the normal utilization pattern, driving a bunch of costs, maybe we can say, well, how about you sign up for that international call plan? We apply it retroactively to the beginning of this billing period, and all of a sudden, all those fat line item charges go away. That's a pretty outstanding outcome for all parties involved. Customer satisfaction is elevated, and an upsell has actually occurred, and it's all happened automatically in place of something that would have normally driven customer satisfaction down. We think that's a golden ticket, and we're looking forward to getting that out the door. It's coming out soon. Again, this is going to reduce not just bill shock, but it's going to reduce explanation of bill, the effort involved with it. It's going to add upsell. But we're not stopping there. Again, we believe this world of ambient agents that act of their own accord, is important. It is delivering on the true promise of A2A, agentic enterprise AI. And the bill shock elimination is just the first of many. We have a bunch others that we're going to be rolling out during the course of 2026. And this works great with ServiceNow because the ServiceNow AI Agent Fabric, which is MCP compliant, A2A compliant, works with what we call the Aria Billie Connect layer, which is also MCP and A2A compliant. So that's it. Thank you very much for your time, letting me introduce you to Aria. Again, what we're trying to do is elevate the conversation of billing up and out from just that sort of functional necessary evil that everybody thinks billing is, and into a source of greater understanding of your customer, which we believe drives understanding your customer. In other words, empathy. So a little bit bold to say maybe billing is a great way to induce empathy with your customer, but we believe that to be true. Thanks very much for your time.